But I always make you moderator when I
Well, sooner or
remember
later,
to do
yeah,
it.
but
Sooner or
you
later,
really,
yeah.
that's right. And it really makes no difference
But
whatsoever.
that
But
is the lead.
I,
Okay.
ugh, okay.
Yeah. Is that the music lead, right? The one that you put online. Hi, Tamara. Mm.
Bless you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
Is that a new lovely picture? I like that one.
Hey, I can't believe I still had one from winter in there. My goodness.
I like those glasses on you.
How do you like
Yes,
that?
they're minty fresh.
Hi, Tom. Can you check your mic, please?
Good morning.
Okay.
Crystal clear.
I'm good to go.
I can hear you. Sound great.
Thank you.
I was thinking back before we start. I was thinking back, looking at some of the lessons we're reading right now,
Yeah.
and I can remember clearly that some of some of the concepts and principles I have understood for a long time. And I can also remember that some of these particular ones I learned in reading and studying the book a long
Yeah.
time ago. But there are some that we come across that I realize that I just picked up on this recently. And it's really interesting. I see George just joined us to
That feels like a
try and
welcome to
even,
the club kind of
yeah,
situation. It's a great way to
yeah.
start the day. I
So
know.
where'd this one come from? And I mean, it's not brand new,
I have
but
that here, and I have
me
that in my
too.
work life too. I
Sure.
am on the 12 out of 14 interviews with a company, and you'd think that I would be hearing the same thing over and over and over again, but I'm still uncovering brand new stuff. It's like
Wow.
there's so many great layers to this onion, and it gets better and better the closer and closer you get to the core. Today is lesson 167. There is one life, and that I share with God. You ready, Papa? Here we
I
go.
am. No, actually, I have to add
No?
one more thing before we start
All right,
this,
let's hear it.
since you've already told us the name of it.
Yeah.
I was just coming off of a 1.5 hour discussion with several people, but one of them is originally from the Caribbean. And we usually end with a prayer or two. These little talks that we have, well, hour and a half, whatever. And he added one love. And I told him that we have to always remember to add in the prophet from the Caribbean, Bob Marley, and to invoke in his name one love, which is a beautiful song, which I've always loved. So I just, when you said there is one life, I was thinking one life, one love, and it fits what we're about to read also. So that's what was my introduction. Go for it, Lee.
Fantastic, Papa. Today's lesson 167. There is one life, and that I share with God. There are not different kinds of life, for life is like the truth. Life, like the truth, does not have degrees. Life is the one with condition Life is the one condition in which all that God created share. That is why life is our essence. And I'm going to turn the music. Oh, is that me? It might be a little bit too loud. Thanks, sweetie. Life, like truth, does not have degrees. Life is the one condition that all God created, share. Like all God's thoughts, life has no opposite. There is no death, because what God created shares God's life. There is no death, because an opposite to God does not exist. There is no death, because the Father and the Son are one. In this world made by the split mind, there appears to be a state that is life's opposite. You can call it death, yet we have learned that the idea of death takes many forms. Death is the one idea which underlies all feelings that are not supremely happy. Death is the alarm to which you give response of any kind that is not perfect joy. All sorrow, loss, anxiety, and suffering and pain, even a little sigh of weariness, a slight discomfort, or the merest frown, acknowledge death, and thus you deny you live. What a high bar that feels like. You think that death is of the body, yet death is but an idea, irrelevant to what is seen as physical. A thought is in the mind. A thought can be then applied as the mind directs that thought. But the thought's origin, which is the mind, is where the thought must be changed if change occurs. Ideas leave not their source. The emphasis this course has placed on that idea, that ideas do not leave their source, is due to this idea's centrality in our attempts to change your split mind's belief about yourself. The concept that ideas leave not their source is the reason you can heal. The idea is the cause of healing. Because ideas never leave their source is why you cannot die. Its truth established you as one with God, since ideas leave not their source. Death is the thought that you are separate from your Creator. Death is the belief that conditions change, emotions alternate because of causes you cannot control, you did not make, and you can never change. Death is the fixed belief that ideas can leave their source and take on qualities the source does not contain, becoming different from their own origin, apart from their source in kind, as well as distance, time, and form. Death cannot come from life. Ideas remain united to their source. Ideas can extend all that their source contains, In that, the ideas can go far beyond themselves, but ideas cannot give birth to what was never given those ideas. As ideas are made, so will their making be. As ideas were born, so will those ideas give birth. And where ideas come from, will those ideas. The mind that thinks it sleeps cannot change what is its waking state. The mind that thinks it sleeps cannot make a body, nor abide within a body. What is alien to the mind does not exist, because what is alien to the mind has no source. For mind creates all things that are, and cannot give things, attribute that the mind itself lacks, nor change the mind's own eternal, mindful state. Mind, which is only spirit, cannot make the physical. What seems to die is but a sign that the mind must be asleep. The opposite of life can only be another form of life. As such, the other form of life can be reconciled with what created the other form of life, because life is not opposite in truth. Life's form may change. Life may appear to be what life is not. Yet mind is mind, awake or sleeping. Mind is not mind's opposite in anything created, nor in what mind seems to make when mind believes it sleeps. God creates only mind awake. God does not sleep, and God's creations cannot share what God gives not, nor make conditions which God does not share with God's creations. The thought of death is not the opposite to the thought of life, forever unopposed by opposites of any kind. The thoughts of God remain forever changeless, with the power to extend forever changelessly, but yet within themselves. For the thoughts of God are everywhere. What seems to be the opposite of life is merely sleeping, when the mind elects to be what the mind is not, and to assume an alien power which the mind does not have, a foreign state the mind cannot enter, or a false condition not within its source. The mind merely seems to go asleep a while, goes to sleep a while. The sleeping mind dreams of time, an interval in which what seems to happen never has occurred. The changes wrought are substanceless, and all events are nowhere. When the mind awakes, the mind but continues as the mind always was. Let us today be children of the truth and not deny our holy heritage. Our life is not as we imagine it to be, for we are not our ego's little s self, who changes life because he shuts his eyes, or makes himself what he is not because he sleeps, and sees in dreams an opposite to what he is. Who changes life because he shuts his eyes, or makes himself what he is not because he sleeps, and sees in dreams an opposite to what he is. We will not ask for death in any form today, nor will we let imagined opposites to life, like our ego's little s self, abide even an instant, where the thought of life eternal has been set by God himself. I'm going to come back to that sentence. The one before. This is fantastic stuff for me. God's holy home we strive to keep today as God established it, and wills God's home to be forever and forever. God is Lord of what we think today, and in God's thoughts, which have no opposite, we understand there is one life, and that we share that one life with God and with all creation, with their thoughts as well, whom God created in a unity of life that cannot separate in death and leave the source of life from where it came. Good promise. We share one life because we have one source, a source from which perfection comes to us, remaining always in the holy mind which God created perfect. That's holy minds, like each of our minds are holy because we're part of the one, Okay. Remaining always in the holy minds which God created perfect, as in each of us are perfect, whole, and complete. As we were, so are we now, and will forever be. A sleeping mind must awaken, as the sleeping mind sees its own perfection mirroring the Lord of life so perfectly, the sleeping mind fades into what is reflected there. And now the mind is no more a mere reflection. The mind, now awake, becomes the thing reflected, and the light which makes reflection possible. No vision is now needed, for the awakened mind is one that knows its source. That's with a capital S. And its higher self, its big S self, and its mind's holiness. That's the end of the lesson. And it sounds like today we get to wake up to our own magnificence. And so here are the notes for this lesson from Tom's book. Thank you, Tom. He's going to take us into a meditation. I'm going to get on the road, but I'm so glad you're all with us. Thank you for sharing this time with us today. I'm really looking forward to this lesson. We're really at a pivotal point, like here through 180 is, the change of the year, and then we start section 2. So this is really kind of, it's an electric time of the year, Summer is kicking off. It's sizzling. Notes to lesson 167. There is one life that I share with God. If you ask people, what's the opposite of life? Most would reply, death. But when your body ceases to function, does your essence cease to exist? Once again, A Course in Miracles has a rather strange definition for the term death. Death is the fixed belief that ideas can leave their source, take on qualities that the source does not contain, becoming different from their own origin, apart from their source in kind as well as distance, time, and form. This definition for death stresses the idea that you are mind and not the physical body. Death is any feeling of unhappiness. In time, death takes on many forms, such as sadness, anxiety, fear, lack of trust, and what we typically associate with death as being the death of the body. God's will is that you be happy. When you are not happy, you have been denied. You have denied that you are a part of the shared mind of God. You've claimed that you have a will different from God's will. Unhappiness or death denies that you live. It claims that you are the body. It's an erroneous belief of your egoic mind. You are a thought of God, and thought is in the realm of mind. It is your mind that believes that you are a body, and therefore it is the mind's beliefs that need correction. Death is the thought that you could be separate from God, and you could change and develop attributes that your source does not possess. Ideas remain united with their source. You can only extend what your source contains. When your mind denies its source, it claims it does not know itself, and basically is asleep. When you sleep, you are not aware of who you really are. You fail to recognize your higher self, your big S self, your capital self. Mind has the power to create or imagine anything it desires. When it is awake, it creates like itself. When it sleeps, it imagines what it is not. Since you cannot be something you are not, mind cannot make the physical body. When you perceive yourself to be something that seems to die, this indicates that your mind is asleep, for it has denied what it truly is. The opposite of life must be another form of life. To live is to be aware of whom you really are. An awakened mind is one that knows its source, the reality as his big S self and its holiness. To be holy is to be whole, which is the recognition that you are part of the indivisible one self. Since life is the awareness of what you are, the opposite of life must be the unawareness of what you are, which the Course references as the sleeping mind. God does not sleep. Therefore, what God creates can only be an awakened mind. God's creations can neither share nor possess what God does not give, nor make conditions which God does not share with them. Sleep cannot be real. Your true reality must be the mind that is awakened, which your big S self, your higher self, is. What a sleeping mind imagines cannot be real and has no ability to change the truth. When a sleeping mind awakens, it finds that nothing has changed. Yet even a sleeping mind possesses creative power to be or imagine anything it desires. A mind that sleeps pretends it's something it's not. A sleeping mind assumes an alien power that it does not have. It believes mind can create the physical. It believes that it can be a body and create a false condition that is not an attribute of its source. A sleeping mind mistakes differentiation for a different, autonomous existence. It believes it is separate and different from its source. A sleeping mind dreams of the illusion of time. Time becomes the game board of the sleeping mind's imagination. Opposites appear to exist in time and take on a fearful reality of their own. Time is an interval in which what seems to happen never has occurred, and the changes that took place in time are without substance, and the events are non-existent. When the mind awakes, the illusion of time disappears, and the mind continues as it always was. Nothing has changed. Life, like truth, has no opposite. Your reality cannot be a sleeping mind, for God creates only awakened minds. In time, we're aware of our big S self, our higher self, its holiness and unity with the one self. When we sleep, we dream of time, believe that we are the body, that death is life's opposite, that ideas can leave their source and become something different and separate from its source. This is not true. God's thoughts have no opposite, and therefore we remain changeless and eternal. Ideas never leave their source. We share one life because we share one source, which is the mind of God. And our question of today is, in time, what is the opposite of death? And time gives us a little hint. Death is the illusion of your essence, leaving a physical body. In time, birth is the illusion of your essence, entering a physical body. All right, I'm going to leave the question up here. I get on the road with my kids. Tom, thank you so much for the meditation. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. We're here every morning at about 6:30, reading the lesson of the day. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay. So today the lesson was there is no life, and there is one life, and that I share with God. It says that death is a thought that you're separate from your Creator, and what seems to be the opposite of life is merely sleeping. Mind is the belief that there is something that exists that you are not, that you don't know what you are. So today we're going to take a little adventure. We're going to take a trip in our mind. And so what I want you to become aware of is your decision maker, your individuated aspect of consciousness, your awareness, your ability to be the editor, script writer, and actually even star of various plays. And today we're going to take on the form of the editor. And, today Hollywood seems like they don't come up with new stories. They come up with remakes of old stories that they uh, basically keep the same storyline and they redo it with some different effects. And that's what we're going to do today. So I want you to get in a comfortable position and just become aware of what you perceive to be your essence. And in this case, we're going to become aware of our ability as decision maker to call into our awareness different stories, different things that have perhaps happened in the past. And what I'd like you to do is to go into the archives of your mind, and I want you to pick up, you can see there's a bunch of old films, canisters with films inside. what I want you to do is to pick a film that was recorded before and had been issued and had been played quite a bit. And it's a film that actually you, as the heroine or hero, was actually portrayed in a way that made you look small, made you look uh, like you weren't in control, that you were a victim, that you were a loser, that you had some flaw that was within you and that caused you to have a experience that when we look at it, we would call this story not a happy, exciting adventure, but rather a sad story of a victim. And we want to just pull that film up. So select one. I'm sure there's probably many there, but just pick one. It doesn't have to be a big one. It could just be some minor little play. Wasn't a big box office smash, but one that you're familiar. And what we're going to do is we're going to play that raw cut first. The raw cut was what occurred, what the camera caught before we took it to the editor and they added the sound effects, the embellishment, wanted to focus on certain things, cut out certain parts that maybe didn't fit the storyline that the editor was going to try and relay, and you as an observer would uh, not get the full experience of being a victim. So let's play that without all the sound effects, without all the story that's been added, just the raw film cut of what actually happened. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the projector and we're just going to be playing the raw film, what the camera caught, and just play that and see the action going on without any sound effects and just see the story unfold as the camera caught the action. There were some players playing various parts, playing their roles, and you see yourself playing your role, and the lines, people reading their script, the lines. And now we play that through from the beginning to the end of what the camera actually caught, not our story as to what happened, because we don't have a backstory in this case. We just sing the raw film. So do that for a moment or two. And this really is just you watching the film as an observer. Okay. Now what we want to do is now we want to take the film as it was cut. And what we've got is the editor that did the original cutting. And we could call that editor our ego, but it's the belief that you're a victim, that the story that we want to get across to the audience is that you, the star of this play, was actually a victim of outside forces that were beyond your control, that you were powerless, that maybe you weren't worthy of being lovable, that maybe there was something wrong with you. What we want to do is we want to play that up. So we want to add some music, some sad music. Oh, feel how terrible this is, how powerless this person is. So we make sure we play the music to get those feelings. Oh, this person is a victim. Oh, this person is not worthy of being loved. This person deserves disrespect. No one honors this person. This person is a scumbag. It's worthless. And as we do that, we start seeing how the film was edited. We've added a backstory of you being a victim, that you were not a willing volunteer. You're not an actor. You're not a learner. You're someone is stuck, trapped by outside forces that are beyond your control. And you just, as a watching this film, you start seeing how now there's been a lot of negative energy, a lot of backstory added. And now that film that originally just played out, it seemed to be certain events that happened. Now we've got some sympathy. We've got a lot of arguing for why those things unfolded as they did, why I was a victim, why it's not my fault, why I was given such a poor script, and why I had to play it. And we really get down on this idea that, yes, I'm a victim conscious. And we look at the editor and we say, wow, you did a fantastic job. I can really, as an observer, watch this film with all those sound effects, with all that backstory, with all the violins playing in the background. Boy, I can really get into this. I can see how this becomes, instead of a neutral learning event, this can become a real tragedy, a real thing that can mess up someone's life forever. Now we start looking at the assignment that we've been given. We've been given the assignment to take that original film and create a new story that says that you're not a victim. We're asked to ask this question. What was the editor of the film originally trying to teach us? What was the lesson that he was trying to get across? Was he trying to demonstrate how we were a victim? Did he go out of his way to make us look like a limited ego body? Perhaps in competition, a failure, a loser, someone that's guilty, that deserves to be shamed, blamed for being such a worthless piece of shit. Because that was that editor's job, to make you the star of that movie, someone that caused sympathy, someone that the audience would feel that, yeah, that person got deserved. That person is worthless. But now we've been told we're to remake this film into a comedy adventure, a learning experience. And now we've got a new advisor, the Holy Spirit, the higher self. And we've been given the task to breathe life into this old dead film, this film that was supposedly a tragedy, a thing that said that you were a victim. And the advisor asks, how can we do that? What lesson, perhaps, was that designed to teach us? And can we add a little additional story, maybe, and see how this experience was a turning point, a learning lesson, that this was not the end of the story. We're going to add a little more additional film to this, a little additional story that will help us see this in a new light. Because what we're going to do is we're going to remake this so that you're no longer perceived to be a victim, but that you're an active, proactive person that's reclaiming your power, that's reclaiming the truth of what you are. That is a mind awakening to the truth of what you really are, perfect, whole, and complete. And this advisor is the advisor for responsibility consciousness, the advisor for the truth. And now we see what that original cut film was designed to tell us. We see the learning lesson that it was designed to portray. And now we realize, hey, this is a moment where we could snatch from the jaws of defeat. We could claim victory. We could add a lesson, and we can continue to play out and add a final act to that screen, that film in which you, as the hero, rise from the ashes, learn the lesson, realize that you're not a worthless piece of shit, that you are God's beloved treasure, that you are a learner, that you are in charge as the editor as to how you choose to write that final script. And now you choose to write that as a lesson learned, that you have learned that lesson. You are a thing of value. You are worthy. You are as God created you. You are the script writer, the decision maker. You get to control the final cut. And now you cut that with the aid of this higher self, the truth, so that now this becomes a moment of reawakening, a tragedy turns into an exciting adventure in which you rise supposedly from the ashes like a phoenix, rising up, reclaiming your destiny. The music starts playing, that triumphant type movie, as you now are the heroine, and the other people start holding you up, saying, Hosanna, the Christ has come. You have awakened to the truth that you are the writer of your own script. And if you listen to the Holy Spirit, you can awaken from the death and resurrect this old film. And now it becomes an exciting adventure. You, the hero, the one that pulled out the learning lesson that allowed you to reawaken to the truth. And as you sit back there with the two old editor and the new, the advisor, and the old editor kind of says, wow, you've transformed my tragedy. Now it looks like it's an exciting adventure. Now I now have you transformed my old film. It's magical. It's like the Wizard of Oz has appeared. And the higher self, your advisor, just kind of laughs and says, yeah, I brought something that was the belief in lack, limitation, something that was not the truth, that you were dead, that you were asleep, that you were a victim of forces beyond your control, that you were guilty. There was something to fear. And what I did is I brought the truth of what you really are and made that into a learning lesson. a lesson, a film where you, as the heroine, get the prize because that is your divine birthright. That is how the story must end. You reclaiming your divine birthright, part of the oneness of all that is. And as we decide to leave the cutting room and we take that film, we have a decision. What one will we choose when we go into the archive of our mind to play? We know now how the film has to end, but will we choose to replay the old original version that we were limited, that we were a failure? Or will we choose to take the final cut, the one in which we reawaken to the truth? That is the decision that I'm asking you to make and to decide as decision maker what film you will decide to play in your own mind. Because as we've mentioned, time isn't a journey that's already been completed. When we choose to pick up an old film that isn't the whole story, that doesn't report the big picture, we keep those negative ideas of lack, limitation, sin alive in them. When we choose to take the full version of the film as it's finally brought you to the truth, we reawaken. And life, instead of becoming a tragedy, a melodrama, becomes an exciting adventure in which you, the hero, always end up with the truth, with the prize of reclaiming your divine birthright. Today, you, as the decision maker, are asked to decide how you will choose to cut that film. What film will you put in the projector of your life? Make a decision today that today will follow the voice for that higher self and treat all experiences as learning lessons that we are here to grow, learn. And when we come up with something that may appear, a neutral event that appears to have some negative, we'll ask ourselves, what is this trying to teach me? What am I trying to learn about myself? Because somewhere within my mind, I have accepted the idea of death, that I could be not perfect, not whole, not complete, that I could be limited, a sinner, that I could have something to fear, that I'd have to get a certain result, get a prize. And that, this lesson is saying, is death. You can rewrite, re-edit, recut that film with the aid of your higher self so that it too becomes a, now a film about life, of reawakening to the truth. And with that thought, that you as the decision maker have the power to decide and take responsibility for what film, what version you're going to choose to play. Decide, do I want to be happy? Do I want the truth? Do I want to reawaken? Or do I want to argue for my egoic belief that I'm limited, that I'm a worthless piece of shit, that I'm not good enough? Because those are the voice for death. Today, make a choice for life, for the truth of what you really are. And with that thought, become aware of this time dimension. Let's leave the editing room, the projector room, and become aware of this moment, this time, space, and reconnect with the actors that will strut their stuff on the stage of time and space. And when you connected with the costume that you're going to wear today, the body token, send energy bolt down through that costume, reactivating it and grounding yourself in this world, knowing that today, as scriptwriter, as editor in chief, you have the ability as decision maker to choose life. Today, we will choose life, not death, not the belief that we could be something other than as God created us, perfect, whole, and complete. And with that notion, feel that love of unconditional love. For there is only one life, and you share that with God. And as you do that, hear the voice. This is my beloved child with whom I am well pleased. The voice for God, the voice for life. For there is one life, and today I choose to share with God. Create a great day. Namaste.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed that. It was a great compliment to the lesson. This lesson, just another in the kind of the long list of this part of the year where we really get to the meat of one section before we enter another one. This one gives us another chance to take a look at that ego and decide differently how we want to experience life. Got the most beautiful drive this morning going into the place where my kids are going to school. Their last week of school, the start of summer, and from childhood on, it's the last day. Oh, it's Thursday. That's right. Tomorrow's the last day. So everybody at this point in their lives has some part in their childhood where this was part of the best part of the year. And it's beautiful weather, and everybody gets to choose the way they want to experience life. And so I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us.
I'd like to say, Tom, that you have outdone yourself this morning. This is one of the most beautiful, not only meditations, but lessons that you have brought to life for all of us. I frankly would like to have Lee, I was going to back channel, but I'm just going to say it, Lee and Adriana, his assistant, take this meditation and make a podcast out of it, to make it available to anyone who wants it. It is so powerful. It embraces a complete rock solid foundational lesson in life and can probably benefit people of all stripes. It doesn't matter who they worship, or don't worship, what groups they belong to, what religions they belong to. It means nothing. This is so universal that I think many people would get tremendous amount from it. Plus the infused drama with which you presented it. My brother in L.A. right now, he could probably write a play around this. And his son actually is a playwright. He's written several plays. It was beautifully presented, Tom. It was complete. And I can't remember ever hearing something quite as powerful as the way you place this in front of us. I'm reminded of a quotation that's very famous about Mr. Albert Einstein, who said, and I quote, I want to know the thoughts of God, the rest are details. And that's the way this lesson started off, by talking to us about the thoughts that we have, and that these thoughts in the dreams that we have, they're also thoughts, and we are playing with them in a dream. So let's think for a second. Are all of these ideas out there? And do we have this thing called a mind, which is able to pick this idea or that idea and simply play with it and reorganize it, how they're connected? This came first, then second, so that's kind of a linear approach of the ideas, and this came third. But maybe in some cases, it's a bigger idea and it encompasses all of them. Tom, you brought all of those things together in this one narrative. And what I'm wanting to point out, my own personal take on all of this, is that we actually do have this opportunity to do that. And it occurred to me just before Tom started this meditation that if ideas leave not their source, that means that it's all there because God is like a big Google machine. All the ideas are there. What we do with them each day is what is going to make the difference. So if we take the ideas and we remake the day that we're going to be living, and if everybody knows that they can do that, and they can bring a type of brilliant purpose to what we're thinking, then we have really done something that can change this world. It's an enormous potential that exists and that we can do something with. One last thought on all of this. If you were to ask a character in your dream, which you can't do because we can't rearrange the dream. Actually, I think Adriana said once or twice she was able to do it. And so, some people can maybe. But in general, we have a dream and it's presented to us. We are total audience. We don't get to edit it, do we? Any more than the way Tom presented his story. But let's say you could, like you had a microphone and it could go to the stage and it could talk to the actors on the stage and ask this question. When you dream, well, to yourself first, you see people on the stage. What if you could ask those dreamy people on the stage if their world, which is just the stage they live in, is real? What would they say? They would say, of course it's real. This stage is what's real. This vignette you're seeing, this play, this series of acts is something that somebody made up, gave us a script, gave us the setting, and there are some stages, by the way, that have no setting. Those are plays that are done a certain way. But what do the actors have to answer to that question? What they have to answer, because they have no choice, is that what they're seeing in this world of theirs, this microcosm, that's real. That's how they get to act. So if they think that the table and the chair and the other people and their thoughts and their own thoughts are real, and they say, sure, this is real, isn't that what we're doing in what we here call our reality? We can change the reality of our lives. On the one hand, that's Tom's message today. And what I'm adding only parenthetically to that, not to change it, but to glorify it, if I can use that word, it means that it's how we can understand it. When these lessons started and it said that chair is of no value, and all of these things that we started to think about, and we start to rearrange what our stage that we see in what we think is life, but from a more distant viewpoint of the Holy Spirit, we are just on a stage and we are just following a script that we made up, but we can change it. And that's what Tom gave us today. I am so thrilled with this, with the way you did it, Tom. You could do that as a speaker on a stage. Of course, you put your audience to sleep. Not really. I certainly didn't, and I think it's great that you voiced it in such a way that was so true to life and to the way we even understand this course in miracles. My grandmother had a famous quote in my family, and she famously said many times, "There is a place for everything, and everything in its place. Then you have a good household." And that's what we have to do. And I think Tom is just giving us a real good way to rearrange the furniture on the stage of life, and sometimes rearrange the characters that we interplay with so that we can have a better life. We get to be the editors of our own life. You've given us a beautiful way of thinking about that. Thank you very much, Tom.
Well, if you guys found these workbook lessons of value, if you found the ideas that we're trying to express here of value, you could help me by posting a review on the Amazon or whatever on the Understanding Course in Miracles workbook lessons, or the ones on the text too, uh, because that would help uh, reestablish, I guess I'm going to say, the number one ranking the page one rankings that I lost whenever I had to change some of the names of the books from Course in Miracles for Dummies workbook or text to Understanding a Course in Miracles. I would appreciate you supporting the ideas, because without your reviews, if I stay on, a lower page, people are not going to really be able to find that information. And I think what we were directed to whenever we did this with the Holy Spirit's guidance is to uh, start looking at the Course in Miracles without the embedded fear, and realizing that this is a journey of awakening, and that this time is your time for you to reawaken. It's no longer a situation where we have to wait for some fantasy land that never arrives. We can do this. You can reawaken. You can end fear today if you choose to accept the at one the truth of what you really are. So if you find the message of value, if it's helped you in any way, I'd encourage you to post a review uh, so that you can help spread the message so that and if you found anything personally, a good review is something that would say how that specifically helped you. You don't have to have bought the book, but you obviously are familiar with it because you've been listening to uh, the workbook, understanding A Course in Miracles workbook lessons now for the last almost half a year. So you could do that, and you do need to have an Amazon account that spend $50. If you don't have your own, you can use a friend's or a family. Enough advertising, but that's a way that you can support this message and become proactive in the reawakening of our collective consciousness. Thank you.
And I'm going to take that a step after that paid commercial announcement, um, and highly recommend that we all do this because it is a message that is important and needs to be known about. And I'm going to share quite a miracle that happened yesterday, and that and in line with just this very kind of idea. You all know that I've been working to make things happen in Liberia. It's now going to be something called a PPP, which is an organization that is expanding so that we also include, as I may have mentioned, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. There are 5 countries now. And guess what else? There's going to be the Caribbean. And that's important also because it's all the same kind of territory that will be linked in bilateral trade with the United States of America. The full capacity of what we're doing is it's certainly getting bigger. And I wanted to tell you that this miracle that I just referred to, and I'm going to tell you, and you can do whatever you want with it, including whether you want to believe it or not. But at this point, for what we have organized, we have been offered $5 billion. Excuse me, I left out a couple of zeros. $500 billion because of what we're about to do by the Saudis, by a Saudi prince. It's difficult for me to think of 500 billion, but that's half a trillion. That's what they think, and I have no idea how they even found out all of the things, and they don't know all of the things, but somehow they have found out. And we really weren't telling that many people, but I've said things on this show right here. This show, it's an hour and a half that we share every day, and from whence miracles do come for our life. We have the chance to unite in trade the United States of America and those 5 countries in Africa, which are all on the coast, west coast, facing the United States, and even the Caribbean. The picture keeps getting bigger, and nobody seems to flinch. The few people that are putting this together, that's immense. And why is that any different from what Tom said this morning? In this particular thing, it's big. We're not arguing for our littleness. We're arguing for how big can we be so that we can affect more people. We're not interested in robotics because we don't want to take away jobs. We want to help people. That is the common denominator. And that's exactly what this course is all about. It's to allow each of us to participate in ways to edit, in this case, the picture of the world. Is that too big to contemplate? I'm not going to argue against it. I think we all have ways to be part of the change that I think is coming. And people are going to be waking up more and more to see that the world that is currently playing out on this world stage, Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, there you go, is not a very good play. Maybe we can edit it. And that brings all of these things together. So I'm really excited about the way this lesson fit in with the things we talked about earlier this morning. And I can only think of good things to come. So I hope all of you will come on up, share the way you feel about it. Certainly share some of your feelings and help Tom get his version, his way of looking at these incredible ideas out so it can help people. Thank you.
I'd like to add something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree, Bob. This helps us to see how we can edit our picture of the world. And it definitely, and thank you, Tom, this morning. I definitely didn't fall asleep on this one. This was a great one, and I will do that review. I look forward to doing that because your notes have really helped crystallize A Course in Miracles and really or clarify and expand the ideas there. So, and I really appreciate that. So, I was thinking of how these lessons, for me, quote, real world problems have diminished as I grow in my understanding of who I am and what I am. Um, Things that were previously a quote problem, now they're not a problem so much anymore. And no, Bob, that doesn't sound like too much at all. That seems that amount of money is like, sure, why not? Of course. Every people we can have that. Humanity can have that. We can create what we want for the good of all. Some things were happening in my life that I have perceived to be an issue. I was studying this a course to become a practitioner with my spiritual center, and for some reason I just couldn't get the lessons done. Something always got in the way of me reading, and I just couldn't get it out. And then it came to me yesterday. I read the lessons even though I wasn't with you guys. That, well, you know what? Maybe Holy Spirit's telling you you don't need the title of a practitioner. You don't need a title. You're doing the work anyway. This all of us here together as we do this, we are helping to heal the world, and we're helping to shift, hum, all of us because we're truly one. And as my uncle is struggling with his body, it doesn't mean his end. He's still part of this one life. Because I had been going through some things. I was kind of in a funk. I was down because he's probably the next most, I won't say next most important, but a huge image, a huge figure in my life, my Uncle Simon. He was my mother's brother, and he's 84. And he's lived a magnificent life. He's just impacted so many people. And I have nothing to be sad about, really, except I'll definitely miss him. But he still has his life. There's no death. I love that. I love that release, that freedom to know that there's really no opposite of life. Because I think we grow up being taught that death is the opposite of life. But there's one life, one heart, like the song says. And wow, I truly feel renewed this morning. I feel yesterday's lesson was powerful, but this one, it's, oof, can we go higher, people? I'm thinking, geez, we're at 167? What in the heck is coming? We're going to just take off next, maybe we'll just all fly up, in the air or something.
So cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just feels so amazing. So, yeah, thank you.
Beautiful connectors that you made there between all that Bob shared, all that Tom has said, and the beginning of the session. Janine, thank you. And thank you, Bob and Tom, for everything that you share with us, because it really gives us a great start of the day. And it's funny because I have been encountering in this morning too symbols or things that uh, um, takes me to the constant reminder that we are not here to praise death. I had a dream last night about my mother-in-law, and she was lying in her bed, and next to her, in the place that supposedly, well, it was the place that my father-in-law have in the bed. There was some flowers that was placed there by the cook that they have the entire life. Her name is Margarita. So Margarita placed those flowers there in order to just like keep praising Roberto's or honoring Roberto's death or life or whatever. But the flowers were starting to bring bugs around it. So there were flies and little bugs around it. And my mother-in-law in the dream wasn't able to take them away or say anything to Margarita because she was being very respectful on her grieving process or grief process with Roberto's death. So in the dream, I got mad with Margarita and I took the flowers and I gave the flowers back to her and I said, "How can you let Laura sleep like this? She cannot sleep like that. I mean, Robert is dead. He is back with God. He has given us his entire presence here with a lot of memories that we can. Why do you need to keep praising that?" And I give back the flowers. They were beautiful flowers, but they were all like dying, right? And she grabbed the flowers. She didn't respond back or anything. She didn't got mad at me, and she took the flowers and take the flowers away. And she put the water of the. I mean, she cleans the flowers in water, and the water went away in some form to other things. And she was okay with it. And I was like in the dream feeling this kind of annoyance that those we all why do we all keep praising that much? And then I went back to Laura's room. I was worried about her. And then I found this beautiful plant. This is a dream. I mean, this is not something that is happening. It was my dream last night. And there was these beautiful plants in beautiful pots. I mean, it was beautiful. There were living plants like with great leaves, and there were ones that were placed in red pots and they were shining. It was such a great like exhibition of living plants, and they were all gifted to Laura, my mother-in-law, and she was taking so much care, so much good care of them that there was like this kind of exhibition inside her room, her bathroom. It was beautiful, and I said to myself, this is the kind of things that she needs to have around her. And it's funny because I woke up and I had this like, oh yeah, praising the dead is like bringing, yeah, attracting the flies all over us. And we are also so used to be respectful about the grieving process. And it is true, we need to go through the feelings, but go through it. I mean, yeah, you get to feel sad and you get to feel the the duality here because you are in this body, but don't get attached to it. And then I was playing with some. I always start my days with inspiration notes or things that I have from a deck of cards. And the one that I got today is beautiful because it's like it's leaving the past behind. And it's a card of Jesus, like calling a fisherman, and there's a parable. I don't know if that's the word that comes around. A story about Jesus bringing back some fishermen from the sea, and they are all willing to go with him. But then the father of them all, the father of that family of fishermen, was dying. So the fisherman tells Jesus, "Yeah, just give us like 2 3 days so we can all do the rituals that has to be in place for when a man is dying." And Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead, and you come with me because you're needed.
You cut out, Adriana. Oh, got a phone call.
Yeah, let the dead bury the dead. Oh, I got to hear what she's
It
going to
is
say
her
about that.
daughter that she got a call from, so she's off now for a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was going to
yeah,
say like, so that's like
Candy.
basically letting the old ways be there without any, excuse me, any focus on them, um, and looking toward, the new direction.
Hmm.
But I wanted to hear what she had to, how she was going to put it as well. So anybody else, and how anybody else wants to perceive that, I would like to hear.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the stage, and I would love to hear because this has been, for me, very moving and very enlightening. And I would love to hear from everybody on the stage. So if you're going to be on the stage, come on, speak up, talk to us, tell us what's
Oh,
going on.
you know what?
What?
I would I love to share this with others. And but the thing is this, we took this journey to get here. And I know for me it's been like an unflowering. It's been a slow progression. So when I go talk to someone, I mean I am where I am and they are where they are. And of course, collectively we do elevate each other. So, because sometimes I'll expect someone to get something that I profoundly get, and they don't. So, and it's okay. So,
It's like you're planting a seed, and when something new comes, it's like it always reminds me of the story how Christ went to hell, and he contemplated and was there for 3 days in meditation, and then he ascended. So like it's crazy, but when you plant a seed, it I don't know how long it takes to germinate. That would be interesting, but 3 days is a really interesting thing in my life. It um, seems to take that direction about 3 days to express itself. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I've been kind of running around.
You will be able to breathe better in 3 days, maybe.
What's it? I'd be able to what?
To breathe
Breathe in
slowly
three
in
days.
3 days. Give it 3 days to it. So it's going to be fine.
That's
Um,
if
it's funny because I've been also struggling with the same when we are also in this journey, and when I speak it when I say it in English, it's difficult and the words won't come in Spanish. Neither, because I'm processing a lot, but living every day with you all in silence, doing the process with thousands, 1001 story to share every day. And sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, this amazing place where I am right now after listening to Adriana's story today and after talking with her yesterday. It just comes to a place for everyone, like where it doesn't matter where you are right now, in which if you try to understand people or to explain it to people. It's I get it because it's difficult. We think or we dream that we know it all, and still we are not there yet. And even them that haven't heard about this at any place, it's even more difficult. But that's exactly the challenge, and I having that experience right now, and with my family and people who is around. They at some point you think they don't know, but or they are not aware, and when you start to observe, they are more aware than that you thought, just because you were also um, in your own little ego. And the more that the ego is getting, because I do believe that it's, I mean, it's not a belief, but it's the more that you peel that onion and get to see the real you, your whole world crumbles. And that's so nice. It's nice in a way that it's shaking, and it's scary, but it's less scary that when it crumbles and you were not that aware. And the people who is around sees that. They really feel, and it gets even more shaky for them. And it's maybe we think that it's up to us to make it better, but it's just that, just not. It's just that understanding that is going to be fine, and get out of our own ways to try to keep everything as it was before, because it's never going to be as 10 minutes ago. So yeah, it's not a concrete story, it's like a summary. Stories I have a lot as well, but yeah, it's nice to share that today again. Thank you.
I feel that, Louisa, like there's no going back. I just feel like a new penny. I just feel
Why
all
would
polished.
you want to go back?
What was that, Lee? You were breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, why would you want to go back? Right?
I I
you could.
can't.
Wait,
I
wait.
Yeah, I can't even do it. Like I can't even do it. It's so amazing. It's like a healing. It's like a whew, God's grace is so amazing. I'm just so grateful right now.
It really is. It's amazing that things are happening. Just now, as you were talking, my eyes fell down on this page here, and I realized that I had missaid something. It's not 500 billion. It was only 5 billion that the Saudis offered to buy the business that we have been developing um, right now. And I think 5 billion would probably be okay. However, we have no intention at all to sell it, for the simple reason that this is for the people, what we're doing, to help the people live a better life and survive, those that live in a food desert. It's not
Oh, they
about the
want to
money.
buy it. I thought it was a donation.
No, they want to
Ah,
buy it, the whole kit and
wow.
caboodle. And how could we sell that? It's all about the people. We are
Oh, heck
truly
no. Tell them to invest.
right, exactly. This is of the people, by the people, and for the people. You want to invest? Fine. We are still going to move ahead, and we're just taking more people with us. That's all. It's one aspect of life. I feel that way on Clubhouse and what we're doing. Lee and I consciously thought when we started doing this, and George, you're right there, and you can vouch for this. We all three of us, in starting this thing to go on Clubhouse, that the idea is for us to help in any way to bring this story, to bring these lessons to the world. Like Jesus said, the four corners of the earth. Well, you don't have corners, but we were really enjoying in the very beginning, we were picking people up from all around the world. And we still are to a degree, not quite as much, because the time that we are broadcasting it's what it is, and it may not work with certain people. But that's okay. It can still be made available for them in their time if it resonates with them. Not everybody is ready to
I
learn, right? Who was
That's
going to say
right.
something?
yeah,
Janine, yeah.
yeah, Luisa. Just one little story that happened this morning that I've been really living this day in full awareness, and even I always have fruit with me or water or something that I pick from home or that I buy, and a series of synchronicities, but they don't exist, but a series of beautiful happenings happen today. And there was one special that I met someone at the street that I haven't seen in years, and we started to talk in a very, yeah, in this moment, at that moment. And there was this woman asking for food, but she started first like being being like, have pity of me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I was really struggling to not look at her and give what I always had. But sometimes I give, sometimes I don't give. But yesterday, after reading something in the book, I consciously decide to forgive myself for the karma that she's for whatever happened within me that made her being pregnant, young, on the street, asking for money or for food, because her, and then she really started to scream, "Madam, madam, madam!" And I was trying to have this conversation, and my friend said, "What's happening?" I said, I'm just ignoring this girl. I'm not ignoring her. I'm acknowledging her, but I'm not going to give this food that I have because I'm not going to help her with that. And I felt at that time, I felt my ego, me speaking with another yoga teacher, I was like, I don't care what she thinks about me. In this moment, I'm not going to help that girl because I won't. I couldn't help her. So we kept the conversation, and I had my fruit still in my hand. 2 minutes later, some guy comes to her to ask something, and at the same time, an adult man comes and beats the guy and says something like, it's a whole mafia, if I can say it. It's a whole tricky. The girl might not be pregnant, might be pregnant, I don't know. She might be hungry. I don't believe this. If I help her, I'm not helping her or her baby. I really, she said, I'm pregnant. I don't know. I might be helping another bigger thing that if I act out of compassion because my ego will feel better, oh, I did my good thing today, and then I can go to the other side. It's not, I'm not going to help that. So it was a hard decision, but I think helping from real love, from me forgiving myself, and really wanting to help at the moment that I feel to help, and not at the moment that I feel pressure and okay, eat for today that I can go and sleep peacefully tonight. I didn't do it, and that's just one of one of the stories from today, from being walking with him at my side. And yeah, thank you. I'm done speaking.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hey, would one of the moderators invite my sister Linda up, please, from the audience? She's not sure how to raise her hand. Thank you so much.
I did it. I finally figured out what you meant, Lee, and I invited her up. So, Linda, I know you're there. Um, I think that
I
you.
did as well.
Okay, Linda. Let's see. What can I? Um,
You can describe the
uh,
mute button.
okay. Well, I can do that, but she's not up on the stage yet. So, Linda, hang on because we're going to get you up here.
Maybe she's doing something right now. Because I did too.
Okay. Well, she
It
has her
might be.
hand up.
I was like 5 minutes late in verbalizing it because I didn't want to interrupt, but it's all good too. Just wanted to say hi.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to update our update. She may have to update, and That's usually what the problem is. You got to update, and or otherwise there's glitches often about
Oh, you
coming
mean
back.
like refresh her page? Like, how does she do that?
No, no, to
Pull
actually
to
go in the
refresh.
app and update the app. It's
Ah,
Oh,
constantly being updated, and sometimes that you get left behind in the leg if you don't.
that's a good troubleshooting tip. I've had that happen to me in life. Figure it out,
yeah, I didn't
but
realize
it's all
that.
good.
Well, Lee, maybe
I
you
like
can
the auto
call her.
updates for sure.
Maybe you can. Can you call her? And are you driving right now?
Yeah, I'm driving. It's
Yeah.
probably better if I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay. Well, Linda, it's great to have you here, and we also have another Linda as well, of course. But Linda is in the audience right now, and that's my daughter who lives in Houston, and maybe we'll get to hear from her. We did hear from her for a few days when she visited me, in our house just about a year ago when she first found me. My daughter from Vietnam found, actually, she came to see me on Father's Day. That's the first time I saw her. So this is the time when I was notified about it. We talked on the phone, but I actually began to see her in person, and my grandchildren were able to meet her and fall in love with her as well. And for sure, Lee, her brother, fell in love with her too. And Linda, I know you're hearing this. I'm sorry you can't get up. There's a way to do it, and maybe next time we'll have it all worked out. Is there anyone else on the stage that would like to add in the context in which we're talking about today? It's kind of magical. Today's a magical Thursday. And it's kind of special too. Sean, I want to thank you personally for what you taught me yesterday about how to get rid of phony, um, let's see, how do I call it? Phony threats to my computer, because somehow I invited Edge instead of Google to be my working thing. All of a sudden, I had supposedly 50 viruses in my computer, my phone, and my laptop, and it was scaring the you know what. What's going on here? I don't know what's going on. And Sean, who is a real expert in viruses and security and all of those things, said, "Well, there's a program to download," and I did, and that took care of all 50 of them. 1, 2, 3, and guess what? They came back later on in the afternoon, and I applied the same program you had given me, and they all went away again. And this time they're not there. We'll see what happens.
ah, you
Um,
must not have an Apple computer.
I have an Apple phone,
You need an
which I'm
Apple
not.
computer too. You got to get a Mac.
Oh, I should absolutely, but I've had this PC thing for so long. That's another discussion. It's probably a very good idea for many reasons.
I have a
So
share about some things that we're talking about here today about
okay,
duality. Yeah, in my bio, the first thing that I wrote, well, not the first thing, but let me see, I had to open it. Hold on, I got to open it because to remember it verbatim. Um, I said, now aware that fear and doubt have done their job. I have been grateful for the ability to see the truth with fear and doubt, as well as the ability to see the truth without fear and doubt. And now awareness is creating with direction and clarity through understanding, self-trust, and confidence. Also, I'm really compelled to add on to that on my bio because what I've discovered was that um, fear and doubt maybe being part of the dual mind. I actually have appreciated I've appreciated the dual mind because it's given me the span of potential of the human mind. It's given me the potential, the span and the potential, in other words. And so that actually helps me to realize that I'm so much greater. And so I know this course, it teaches about not being stuck in the dual mind. But I think there's a deeper teaching in it as well about how the dual mind is actually still evolving. It's always creating more evolving and more. It is actually pushing us to higher potentials. So rather than seeing dual as a really bad thing, again, I can put a new meaning on it and see that it's my friend and has been my friend. So I think that you know, yeah, yeah, that's what I think. I wrote a little bit more of something that to try to understand myself and try to explore this more, because writing always helps me to explore these ideas. That's why I do it, so that I could explore my own ideas, see what it sounds like when I read it back, see what it sounds like when when I think about it, that type of thing. So I wrote, trying to get out of duality with a disciplined mind. It would perpetuate a dual concept of believing that there is duality. Duality is another word that's intended to describe as two separate pieces. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, I think, from Bob. I'm not sure. It's all needed in evolution, not separated at all. In reality, it's all working together. Duality is a concept that makes up oneness. There's no size in potential, meaning one is more potential or valuable than another. The idea of fear being a problem is giving a, a duality conception. Fear is essential in the evolution of understanding. Fear perpetuates questions which search for answers and evolves the understanding and wisdom to higher places. I've appreciated the duality of the belief in fear because it showed me the potential of the human mind, my human mind. Um, yeah, so it is.
And
That kind of
so
rem-
it is.
that kind of re- Oh, I was wondering how you did that, Lee, because I saw that the microphone was off, but that's Lee up there, not the one down there. um, what you just said, Andy, is very interesting because when I was in, and I've never said this before, but I was in Overeaters Anonymous, and that's where I learned a lot of things about the anonymous, the 12-step groups, and so on, 12-step study. It starts off, step one, we admitted we were powerless over food and our lives had become unmanageable. So we're we're recognizing and we're admitting that this has really made my life miserable. I may enjoy the eating, but I certainly don't enjoy the unintended consequences of too much eating. So that's step one. I have to admit. And I would say in this case, Andy, what you're doing is you're admitting that you're powerless over duality. Aren't we all? I mean, we are in a body right now. I cannot disappear. I can't do magic. Jesus did a good job of that, but that's not what we are. So in this particular edition of existence, we are spiritual beings and we are living in a world that's filled with duality, which affects us. Now, that's step one.
I'm sorry, which does what to us? I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Oh,
that
that's
last word.
okay. Which affects us. It affects our
Oh,
thinking.
affects us,
It
yes.
makes us what we are if we're going to live in this world. And it's duality, and we have to live with it while we're here. Now, the book and the Course in Miracles, in my opinion, takes us to step two and step three, which is became willing to have God. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying the wrong lesson. May need some help. I'm not remembering it. Let's see. The second, we decided we became willing to understand this thing in a new way once we accepted the duality. And then in 3, we go to God and we say, ask Him to please relieve us of the problem of, and I would put the word duality in here, because that's what the 12 Steps program was meant to be from the beginning in 1935. It could be applied to almost anything that you feel inextricably caught up in. That it's a mesh, it's a muck, it's quicksand. You can't get out of it by yourself. You need a higher power. And they even keep the idea of God anonymous in the 12-step course. So we always have that ability. We do have to accept our duality in the world we're stuck in right now, but that doesn't mean we have to stay here. And I think that's what
But are we
Tom's,
stuck? Are we actually stuck? That's
we
another
are,
concept that we don't. Well,
okay,
I
but
think
let's
it's
talk.
adventurous, and so then yeah, it's about like what you are saying. Yes, I agree. And Janine also, I forgot exactly how she put it, but it was like, yeah, we're there's this is such a the I forgot the word she used, and I'm trying to remember it. But yeah, we're not stuck. It's quite beautiful. It's a
Yes.
perception of how we're going to see the word duality now. So if we're seeing it as against us, like we would have seen the ego, or we're attaching to it to an idea that it's bad, that's a problem. So there's our problem. You're saying it too. The problem
No,
is if we're
I'm
seeing.
not.
Okay, hold on. Let me not put words in your mouth. What I'm saying
That's
is,
okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
what I'm saying is there is no problem. That's what Janine said, and I agree. There actually is no problem. So even so the only time it's a problem is if we think there's a problem, and I can't see anything as a problem anymore.
I understand, Andy, and I think I see where you're coming from. What I just wanted to add is that the idea is that, and I think we're being taught that if we read what's in the book, that duality is a problem that we generated. It's so fundamental that we don't think about duality as we go through life day to day. But if we are removed in our minds, to start with, from the notion that duality is required, if we are removed from that, if we get distance from it, and we're not glued to it, then we begin to think in the opposite of duality, singularity, with God, one with God, and that's where we do have ultimately the chance to rise up and do things that um, people don't normally do. We live in a world of miracles. At that point, it begins to flourish. And I can only speak from my own experience and my understanding, but that's the way I see it. We are stuck in duality as long as we allow it. And if we live in it long enough and study it, we may find that the world of singularity is a better way for us to adjust the furniture in our mind and to be able to live a happier life. That's the way I see it. I certainly
Yeah,
see what you're saying. It
I'm
doesn't
just
it
saying I
doesn't even
perceive
negate what you're
duality.
saying.
Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
just saying I perceive duality now way different than I perceived it before.
Mm.
So now I have that peace, and there's no conflict in it now because
Amen.
it's yeah. So we're of course we're always saying the same thing in the end because yeah, it's a and I just brought it up because well, I was on a subject with someone today about we were talking about the idea of duality. The word duality makes separation itself, but when we say duality and we see it as part of the evolution, it's like seems essential to me that it was part of the evolution. And then once we understand that it's part of the evolution, it doesn't become separated anymore and it doesn't become a judgment. You know, I don't know
Yep.
if I make myself clear, but yeah,
Sure.
I just yeah, that was my hopefully my message. Well, who cares? It doesn't matter who my message got to. It
No.
just is me and the understanding right now.
Yeah. It's all okay because we're
Yeah.
here trying to figure this stuff out. Now I found out from George that I have to ask him to please give us some wisdom, George. Then you're willing to speak up. Come on, George.
Hi, Bob. And Tom, thank you for the meditation today. It was really personal. And I have to say, I've had very few meditations in my life that, guided meditations in my life that felt personal, and I was able to go with it. And so thank you for that. And Bob, being asked to add wisdom is a high bar. So maybe I'll just add a giggle, but also Adriana's story was also personal because I had a giggle just a few days ago that when Jesus says, let the dead bury the dead, I came out laughing and told my wife that Jesus just made me giggle again. So that was personal. So today is very personal to me, and obviously why I woke up at exactly 6:37, which is a sign that says, "Oops, I got my day to go in the room." Um, so hello everybody, and I guess what I could say on the immediate topic um, is as today's lesson, bringing it full circle, I guess, says that death is the belief in separation from God. Um, and anytime we believe in that separation from God, we're basically demonstrating death. So that reminder that we're one and that we need to stay one and remember that we're one with God is extremely important. Um, and just remember that duality isn't defined by the physical or what we experience as physical. Duality is really thinking we're separate from God. And I don't think that ever helps. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, George. That's terrific. Monica, do you have something to add to any of this, or just tell us a little bit about your walk these days? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. This is just about how we integrate what we're learning each day into. Oh, there's two Monicas here. Hello, Monica. I didn't realize that was okay. Yes, that's right. All good. Um, well, let's see. It is now. I don't even know what time it is, but I'm having a good time. Is there anybody else who would like to share? Come on, Michael.
Yeah, I'm currently working with while I'm trying to integrate the lessons and the piece, and dealing with if somebody around me is not and is in anger, is in volatility. It seems to me I need to be even more grounded in that. But it almost causes the other person to then go even more wilder.
Yeah, it seems like change. People are not open to change, and that's the attachment. And unfortunately, that's the thing that. Well, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but that's the thing that I'm always working on is not attaching.
I'm kind of laughing, Michael. It's not funny exactly, but I know what you mean. Like they go wild. I had an experience like that with my contractor, and it's like I'm thinking, this man, like he practically went crazy, and I learned I had to go ground myself even more and go deeper, and I learned it was actually an opportunity for me to um, really, really hone in on my lessons and what I know is true. And I actually came out on the other side better. Like I grew from that experience. So let them go wild, I say.
Yeah, I have a tendency to follow it, and it gets in the way of what I'm doing. So yeah, that is my work, to ground in and to go deeper.
I'd like to ask for some technical help. If anyone knows, since Lee is unavailable right now because he's driving, if anyone knows how to get Linda up on the stage. She
I'm
has
home.
raised her hand once or twice.
I'm
And,
home. She's been
oh,
invited to
okay,
speak.
right.
She's
But
been invited to speak. She has to
understood.
connect, and if she can't, then she's going to have to upgrade her software. And
Ah,
can't do much more than that.
okay.
Yeah, I invited her again too. It's just not working for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure it out. All right, I'm going to give it to you, Lee, since you're there now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. I guess it's time to play us out, huh? I really appreciate you guys being here. We come here at about 6:37 every morning, and it's now just about 2 hours exactly. And we dwell here to take the lesson of the day as much to heart as we can. I'm going to
That didn't
kind
feel
of,
like 2 hours, really? Wow, that
no,
was a quick
I
two
know
hours.
it goes by in an instant, and somehow, some way, I get a lot of stuff done in that 2 hours in spite of dwelling here with you guys. It's like jet fuel for my day. So I really appreciate you guys coming, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. We'll do 168 tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. I love you all. Have a beautiful day. Make it a beautiful day. Namaste.
Create a beautiful day. Namaste.
The lesson today is there is one life, and that I share with God. And with that, I will also say namaste, and I will be leaving quietly.